When it comes to miniature painting, I'm a big fan of the Grimdark style. There's just something about creating that gothic, gritty paint job that can really capture a specific setting. And now that I've finally received my Kickstarter package with my range of Trench Crusade models, I've been itching to sharpen up my Grimdark skills and really nail that look and mood before jumping into painting these guys. If you're a frequent follower of miniature painting, you've more than likely seen Grimdark Compendium's Villainy Ink range on your feed at some point. This is a creative set of enamel washes and paints made specifically to bring Grimdark spirit to your miniatures. And today, we're diving right into them. This is Villainy Ink. Just a quick note, I'm not sponsored by Grimdark Compendium or Villainy Ink. I simply found their products intriguing and wanted to see how well they perform on my models. But without any further ado, let's jump right into this box. Now, knowing my Trench Crusade models were on the way, I went ahead and picked up the Villainy Ink starter set while it was on sale a couple months ago. This set comes with 7 enamel washes and effect paints ranging from deep shadowy blacks to pungent greens, perfect for any range of model or grimdark finishes. Right out of the box, I'm really liking the presentation quality of the set. The box itself looks sleek, and having each paint packaged individually is a nice touch. Since these are glass bottles too, they have a nice aesthetic to them. They feel pretty premium. These are dripper bottles as well, which I prefer over the standard Citadel pots. Just makes the application a bit easier. But enough about how they look on the outside. What I really want to see is how the stuff on the inside performs. So to test these out, I've set up 3 different experiments. The first test, we're keeping it simple. I've got some square bases here, one side painted white, the other gray. I wanted to see how these washes interact with both light and dark surfaces. Next up, I've got some stacks of skulls, which I think is a pretty fitting test for Grimdark washes. I'm going to see how these washes fill out finer details and how they react in those recessed areas. To compare, I've also gotten some of the classic washes here, Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade, just to get a direct comparison on similar washes. Finally, I want to put these paints onto some actual minis and give my opinion on where I could see them being applied the best. I'm not a golden demon painter, far from it, but I'm hoping these tests will help other average hobbyists see if there's something in this range for them. Let's jump right into the first wash. Starting with Colia Green, this effect paint was a great first impression for the set. It applied smooth, and while it didn't have great coverage on darker colors on the flat test, it had no problem getting into the recesses of the skull while also leaving some color behind. After drying, this color leaves a nice patina rusting effect. Think Statue of Liberty here. I went ahead and applied this to a lot of the gold and other metal areas, feeling this will give me the best effect. Next, we have Ichor of the Damned, a black enamel effect that has a slightly thicker application than Nuln Oil. This obviously had no problem showing on all colors, but what I liked is that it was sticky enough to push into precise dots, almost like bullet hole effects. On the skull, it had no problem finding recesses, and when compared next to Nuln Oil, you can see that it has a more natural, shiny finish on it. For practical applications, I can see this being an easy recess wash with how thin it can be, but also with the shine, it can make a good skin wash for darker tones or especially reptilian or alien-like miniatures. Carrion Crimson was one of my favorites of the set. Another enamel effect here, but this one for use in flesh and gore effects. After drying, this also has a subtle sheen to it, but makes lighter colors like white or the skulls look like pungent flesh, making this Plague Marine a perfect example to test this paint on, as it blended all of the fleshy areas together. Sector Rust was a wash I was extremely excited for, but I think with it being the first wash I tested instead of an effect paint, I felt a little let down. With this being a wash, it didn't have a lot of coverage on flatter surfaces, but didn't really leave any color behind either. However, where it does find recesses, I do think it has a convincing effect. On actual application, I tried using this in both big and smaller amounts on just metal surfaces. Dystopian Brown is a brown effect paint made for fleshy areas that you are not using Carrion Crimson on, essentially. Everything about the application and finish is almost identical, but the color is a little more natural, perfect for those non-gory skin tones. I just use this to further blend my skin tones as well as shade the skulls. Decay of Death is an interesting wash that took the most work out of the set just due to how long the dry time is. It applies very thin and likes to pool together. However, once it does dry, it leaves behind a cool green, almost mold-like effect on those pooled areas. I threw this on most larger panels to hopefully get that chalky effect with my miniatures. The last wash in this set is by far my favorite, and that is Goon's Grime. This is a dark brown wash that had really good coverage on both light and dark areas, and a good thicker consistency despite being a wash. This thing had no problem finding recesses and left a natural but gritty shading. This really felt like leaving a textured wash on top of a previous coat instead of a wash blending colors, which was unique. I went ahead and threw this all over the models to darken colors down and really give that dirty dark appearance. After all the effects and washes were nearly dry, I went in with some odorless mineral spirits and cotton swabs, gently pushed and rolled the effects away, leaving just the highlights and focus points of these miniatures, leaving me with something like this. So after testing these washes across a variety of surfaces and miniatures, I have to say I'm mostly impressed. The Villainy Ink washes do exactly what I hoped, which was some easy weathered effects that I love to see in Grimdark painting. There are definitely some better ones than others here, most notably Colia Green, Carrion Crimson, and of course Goon's Grime. Can't get enough of that stuff. But let me know what you guys think. Would Villainy Inks help you improve your painting, or is it just something else to sit on the shelf? Thank you for watching, and bye bye now.